Let us be honest about something that most videos will not say directly. Getting older in a world obsessed with youth can feel like a quiet kind of erasure, like the culture is slowly turning down the volume on everything you are, your experience, your perspective, your still very much alive and capable mind. Buddhism has always pushed back against that. The tradition that gave us meditation, mindfulness, and some of the most sophisticated understanding of human consciousness ever recorded did not treat older minds as footnotes. It treated them as the whole point. The elder in Buddhist community was not a burden to be managed. They were the living library, the one who had been through enough to actually know. You are watching Mindfulness. And this video is here to remind you of something you may have started to forget under the weight of a world that forgot it first. Your mind at 70 is not finished becoming. And with these 6 practices drawn from the deepest Buddhist wisdom, it will not just remain strong. It will become something you may never have let yourself imagine. Genuinely, quietly, completely unbeatable. 1. Begin each day with stillness, not urgency. Before the world gets to you, there is a window. It lasts only a few minutes. That quiet space between waking and rising, before the thoughts of the day rush in, before the phone or the news or the to-do list fills the room. Buddhist teachers across centuries have called this window sacred. And if you learn to inhabit it, instead of rushing past it, something in your mind begins to shift in ways that will carry you through everything else. The practice is simpler than you might expect. You do not need a cushion or a mantra or years of training. You simply need to sit or lie still and breathe with awareness for 5 to 10 minutes before allowing the day to begin. You notice the breath coming in, you notice it leaving. When a thought arrives, you do not chase it. You simply acknowledge it the way you might nod at a neighbor passing on the street and return to the breath. This is not doing nothing. This is, in fact, one of the most powerful things a human mind can do. Here is what the science now confirms, and what Buddhist monks have quietly known for centuries. A mind that begins the day in stillness is calmer, sharper, and more emotionally steady than one that begins in reaction. The stress hormone cortisol, which peaks naturally in the early morning, is significantly reduced when the first minutes of waking are spent in quiet awareness rather than anxious activity. And for a mind at 70, which may carry the accumulated weight of decades of worry and rushing, this daily reset is not a luxury. It is medicine. There is a story told of an elderly monk named Tik, who had survived war, displacement, and the loss of nearly everyone he loved. When young students asked him how he remained so unshakable, he did not speak of strength or willpower. He simply said, "Every morning I return to my breath, and in that returning, I remember who I am." That is the gift of morning stillness, not just calm, but identity. At 70, when the world may no longer define you by a career or a role, knowing who you are beneath all of that is the most grounding thing there is. You do not need to meditate perfectly. You do not need to empty your mind, which, as anyone who has tried will tell you, is not really possible anyway. You only need to arrive quietly before the noise does. And if you can do this consistently, if you can give your mind this small and sacred offering each morning, you will notice over weeks and months that you are less reactive, more present, and more anchored in your own peace than you have perhaps ever been. This is where mental unbreakability begins, not in discipline or toughness, in stillness. 2. Practice the art of letting go every single day. Buddhism has one teaching at its very center, and it is this: suffering arises from attachment, not from loss itself, but from the clinging that follows loss. And if there is one thing a life of 7 decades teaches, it is that clinging never once brought anything back, and yet the human heart keeps trying. Letting go is perhaps the most misunderstood practice in all of wisdom tradition. People hear those words and think they mean indifference, that to let go is to stop caring. But that is not it at all. Letting go in the Buddhist sense means holding things lightly. It means loving deeply without demanding permanence. It means feeling grief fully without deciding that the grief must last forever. It means allowing this moment, this conversation, this ordinary Tuesday afternoon to be exactly what it is without wishing it were something else. At 70, you may be carrying things you have held for decades. An old regret, a relationship that ended badly, a version of yourself you feel you never quite became. And here is what is important to understand about those things. They are not who you are. They are stories the mind has kept on loop. And you have the power right now to begin the practice of gently releasing them. This does not happen all at once. It happens the way spring comes, slowly and then suddenly. You begin by noticing what you are holding. You breathe, you acknowledge the feeling without feeding it more thought. And then, as best you can in that moment, you release your grip just slightly. Not forever, just for now. Buddhist teacher Ajahn Chah once said that if you let go a little, you will have a little peace. If you let go a lot, you will have a lot of peace. And if you let go completely, you will have complete peace. That is not a teaching about giving up. That is a teaching about freedom. And at 70, freedom of mind is perhaps the most valuable thing there is. 3. Train your mind to see beauty in ordinary things. There is a concept in Japanese Buddhist tradition called mono no aware. It translates loosely as the bittersweet beauty of impermanence. It is the feeling you get when you watch autumn leaves fall and feel both the beauty and the ache of it at once. And it is one of the most quietly powerful states of mind a human being can cultivate. As we age, there is a risk that familiarity breeds invisibility. The garden you have tended for 20 years becomes background. The face of a person you love becomes so known that you stop truly seeing it. The taste of your morning tea, the particular quality of late afternoon light through a familiar window, these things blur into routine and lose their ability to move you. Buddhist practice invites you back to seeing, not to manufactured gratitude, the forced kind that feels hollow, but to genuine noticing, the discipline of arriving fully to the small and unrepeatable moment in front of you. There is a meditation practice sometimes called beginner's mind, or shoshin in Zen tradition. It is the practice of approaching even the most familiar thing as though encountering it for the first time. You pick up your cup of tea and, rather than drinking it on autopilot while your mind runs elsewhere, you pause. You notice the warmth in your hands. You notice the steam. You notice the color and the scent before the first sip. You drink it as though you have never tasted tea before. This sounds almost too simple to matter, but the research on attention and aging tells us something profound. People who practice present moment awareness, who train themselves to notice beauty and texture and sensation in ordinary things, consistently report higher levels of well-being, lower rates of depression, and a stronger sense that their life is meaningful. And meaning, more than memory or processing speed, is what protects the aging mind from decline. A mind that finds beauty in ordinary things is a mind that is engaged with life. And a mind engaged with life does not retreat. 4. Choose your inner circle with the wisdom you have earned. The Buddha taught that who you spend your time with is not a small matter. He called the company of wise and compassionate people the whole of the holy life. Not a part of it, the whole of it. At 70, you have likely learned this already, perhaps the hard way. You know the feeling of leaving a conversation feeling lighter and more alive. You also know the feeling of leaving one feeling drained and diminished. And you have earned through decades of living the right to choose. One of the quiet gifts of later life is the permission to simplify your relationships, to let the ones that cost more than they give gently fall to a comfortable distance, to invest your time and attention in the people who genuinely see you, who challenge you in the right ways, and whose company reminds you of who you most want to be. Buddhist teaching makes a careful distinction between solitude and loneliness. Solitude, chosen and inhabited with awareness, is deeply nourishing. Loneliness, the unwanted absence of genuine connection, is one of the most corrosive forces the human mind can face. Research on aging consistently shows that social isolation increases cognitive decline, while meaningful connection, even a small number of deep relationships, is one of the strongest predictors of mental sharpness and emotional resilience well into old age. So, this fourth practice is this. Look at your inner circle with honest and compassionate eyes. Nurture the relationships that carry warmth and truth. And do not spend your remaining energy in rooms where you feel invisible. You are too far along and too real for that. 5. Embrace impermanence as a teacher, not an enemy. There is a meditation practice in Theravada Buddhism called Maranasati, which translates as mindfulness of death. Before you turn away from that, hear what it actually means. It is not a morbid practice. It is not about fear. It is, in fact, one of the most life-affirming practices in all of Buddhist tradition. Because when you sit with the truth of impermanence, when you allow yourself to feel the fleeting nature of everything fully and without flinching, something extraordinary happens. The ordinary becomes precious. The present moment becomes the only place worth being. And the trivial concerns that once consumed hours of your mental energy simply lose their grip. At 70, you are closer to this understanding than most people ever get to be. You have watched people you love leave. You have watched your own body change in ways you did not choose. You have lived through seasons of your life that you knew, even as you were living them, would not last. And every one of those experiences, no matter how painful, has been trying to teach you the same thing. This moment is real. This moment is enough. This moment is, in fact, all there is. Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh, one of the most beloved teachers of the 20th century, spoke often about what he called interbeing, the understanding that nothing exists in isolation, that the cloud becomes the rain, becomes the river, becomes the ocean, becomes the cloud again, that endings are not endings, but transformations, and that the self, which we spend so much energy defending and preserving, is not a fixed and fragile thing at all. It is something that flows. This teaching, when it truly lands, does not bring sadness. It brings enormous relief. You do not have to hold everything together. You do not have to prevent the changes that are coming. You only have to be here for this one. There is a story of an elderly Japanese monk who was asked by a young student how he dealt with the deaths of his closest friends over the years. The monk was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Each one taught me to love the ones who remain more carefully. Each one taught me that time is not something to be saved. It is something to be spent." The student asked, "Does it still hurt?" The monk smiled. "Of course," he said, "but the hurt is part of the love, and I would not trade either one." This is what it means to embrace impermanence as a teacher, not to stop feeling loss, but to let the loss deepen your appreciation for the living. At 70, you carry a knowledge of impermanence that is rare and genuine. The practice is to stop running from it and start letting it refine you. Let it strip away what is not essential. Let it clarify what you truly value. Let it make you, as the Zen teachers say, more fully present in the one life you are actually living. When you stop fearing the transient nature of things and start receiving it as information, as a continuous invitation to pay attention, your mind becomes steadier than it has ever been. Unshakable not because nothing moves you, but because you have stopped needing everything to stay the same. That is a kind of freedom most people never find, and it is waiting for you right here in the honest acknowledgement of what has always been true. 6. Cultivate compassion as a daily mental practice. Of all the practices in Buddhist teaching, compassion may be the one most misunderstood in the modern world. It is often thought of as something you either feel or you do not. A personality trait, a quality some people are born with and others are not. But in Buddhist tradition, compassion is not a feeling, it is a practice, a muscle, something you develop through intention and repetition, the way a gardener develops a garden, not by willing flowers to appear, but by creating the conditions in which they can grow. The formal practice is called metta, or loving-kindness meditation, and its simplicity is almost startling. You sit quietly. You begin by offering compassion to yourself, which for many people is the hardest direction to point it. You repeat phrases silently, something like, "May I be well, may I be at peace, may I be free from suffering." You sit with those words not as wishes to be granted by someone else, but as intentions you are cultivating from within. Then you extend it outward, to someone you love easily, to someone you feel neutral about, to someone you find difficult, and finally, to all beings, everywhere, without exception. This may sound gentle, and it is gentle, but do not confuse gentleness with weakness. Research on compassion-based practices has shown remarkable effects on the aging brain. Regular practitioners of metta meditation show reduced activity in the brain's threat response centers. They report lower levels of loneliness, despite sometimes living alone. They demonstrate more cognitive flexibility, meaning a greater ability to adapt to new situations rather than becoming rigid or fearful. And they consistently report a stronger sense of purpose, which, as you now know, is one of the most protective factors for long-term mental health. But beyond the science, there is something more personal to say about compassion at this stage of life. You have lived long enough to have been hurt. You have lived long enough to have hurt others, even when you did not intend to. You carry somewhere inside you things you wish you had done differently, things you wish others had done differently. And those old wounds, left untended, have a way of quietly hardening the mind over time. Not all at once, just slowly, gradually, like sediment settling at the bottom of a glass of water, until one day the water that was once clear has become difficult to see through. Compassion, directed first inward, is what begins to clear that water. Not by pretending the hurt did not happen, not by excusing what was wrong, but by recognizing, with the full wisdom of your years, that every human being, including you, is doing the best they can with what they have been given. And that the energy you have spent in resentment or self-criticism is energy that could be spent in the living of your one remaining life. There is a teaching attributed to the Buddha that says, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. Not despite your age, not despite your imperfections, not despite the years and the losses and the choices you would make differently now. You deserve your own love, and the practice of compassion is simply the practice of remembering that. When you cultivate this daily, when you make it as ordinary as your morning cup of tea, something in your mind gradually shifts. The world stops feeling like a place that is happening to you and starts feeling like a place you are participating in. You become less defended, more open, more curious about other people and their inner lives. And paradoxically, the more compassion you extend outward, the more resilient and centered your own mind becomes. At 70, you have everything you need to practice this. You have lived through enough to understand human suffering from the inside. You know what it feels like to be misunderstood, overlooked, afraid. And that knowledge, rather than hardening you, can become the very source of your compassion, because you know. And because you know, you can meet others and yourself with a tenderness that only experience can teach. This is, perhaps, the most quietly revolutionary thing a person can do with the years that remain. Not to withdraw into comfort, not to protect yourself from further hurt, but to remain open, to keep meeting life with a heart that, despite everything, has chosen warmth over armor. That is not weakness. That is the most profound form of strength there is. The Buddha did not promise a life without difficulty. He promised something more useful, a mind that is equal to whatever life brings. And that is exactly what these 6 practices build. Not perfection, not the absence of struggle, but a mind that is steady, clear, compassionate, and deeply, quietly alive. You have already walked the hardest miles. Now walk them with intention. Begin with stillness. Release what no longer serves you. See the beauty in what remains. Choose connection wisely. Let impermanence teach you, and meet yourself and this world with compassion. If this reached you today, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Mindfulness and carry these teachings gently into your days.